So let's talk about the first one. It's called the knowing framework, and it is all about the feels. The feels matter more than anything else. We're going to talk about how you can have those feels serve as a flywheel to your growth engine. This is a rule at the center of everything that we do. People buy with emotion. They do not buy with logic. They justify their decisions logically. And think about it. How many transactions have you done where it makes absolutely no sense for a person to want a home, but they just know it? Why? Because they've emotionally decided, and they'll figure out ways to make that happen. The first home my wife and I bought together was not really that great of a home. But the previous owner was a brick mason who built a smoker in the back with his own hands and a pizza oven, and I said, I don't care, this is where I want to be. Turns out my wife didn't like the home all that much, but she just wanted to be together. So for her, the home represented a chance for us to get a start. For me, it represented a chance for us to get a start where I could smoke brisket all day. And I used that thing to the hilt. Right? But when we talk to our clients, when we represent our clients, oftentimes we run into the problem of representing everything very factually, very linearly. Think about it. How do you list properties? How do you list properties?
I have to get comps and compare them to each house to each other and figure out the listing price and based on facts.
How do you describe that property to people?
Like in my listing description.
Yeah.
You're asking, recently I've turned to AI.
Okay, but I mean, how did it, before you turn to AI, how would it sound?
Welcome home to this beautiful 3-bed, 2-bath house.
That's it.
Yeah.
Home is 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. No, it's not actually.
Yeah.
Home is where the heart is. Home is a home that you hate being in, that you have your first baby girl in, with a husband who's a nutcase because he likes to smoke meat in the backyard. Right? But the problem is we approach these challenges as being very logical, very linear, very much what you talk about. And so what we end up doing is we sell our features, our services, our features as our services. Well, I've been in the industry for X number of years, and I'm really good at doing 20 transactions a year, and I've helped this person make this much money, and I've helped this person make this much money. And I know a lender that can get us a 4% deal if I just show up to a CE course and get a deal closed before the CE course starts. 4 minutes, yes. Right? But think about it. How many agents are also saying that? Features. You're selling your features, your skills, your capabilities. And then what happens is that what clients value emotionally may or may not really connect to those features. And in most likely cases, they're not connecting what you do to the emotional decision points that they're making. And then what ends up happening is your sales process, getting people to sign the buyer-broker agreement or the listing agreement, becomes aggressive. And when I say potentially manipulative, I don't mean nefariously manipulative. I mean, you better do this. You better do this now. There's never a better time. You're arguing facts. That's what I mean by manipulative. You're trying to argue feelings with facts. You're trying to overwhelm their feelings. And again, it's not nefarious on your part, but you're trying to make people feel guilty for the way that they feel about something. And then the client ends up questioning the value of your services, and you get to the closing table and they're looking at the attorney saying, did I really get what I paid for out of this? And you're arguing feelings again, as opposed to a client looking at you and saying, I couldn't have done this without you. Right? When in reality, they probably could. I mean, let's just face the facts, right? Why? Because they're always in charge. But this linear process creates arguments with feelings. And think about it, right? If you have a spouse, a significant other, children, I can't argue with the feelings of my family. And to be honest with you, I'm a little extra too. When I'm in a mood, my wife cannot argue my feelings. Because I'm a little extra, right? I'm not a hard, cold man that just doesn't feel anything. I feel a lot. But everybody does. I mean, in reality, every person we meet feels a ton, even when they say, I'm just purely logical. No, you're explaining what your feelings are right now. You hate drama, so you try to paint it as a logical thing. Building the emotional flywheel helps your client see the value of what you do. And what is the right price for a home? Whatever person is willing to pay the most for it. It's the same for your services. What is the value of your services? Whatever helps your client get the job done. Here. Not here, here. They'll use this to justify it, but here is where you really have to convince them. So we call this, well, I don't call this the knowing framework. A woman by the name of Christine Marie has developed an entire career over this model right here called the knowing framework. And it begins with representing your authenticity, demonstrating your values. Case in point, what did I tell you I do? Love my family and my girls. Yeah, I have all these certifications. Yeah, I do this. Yeah, I do that. Whatever. I do it because, pure and simple, I want to spend as much time as I possibly can with my wife and girls. That is it. That is what drives me. And guess what? When I represent people, when I work with them, that is the first thing that I ask them. What drives you? Why are you and I talking right now? What are you scared of? What's frustrating you? What makes you angry? Do I make you angry? Because when you represent yourself authentically, you now give people a chance to resonate with that and represent themselves authentically. So now you're exchanging. Remember, when you see value in what it is that you pay for, what you buy, for who you pay, there's a fair exchange of services. Well, guess what? That's what you're doing here. But the greatest thing is it doesn't stop, because it gives you a chance to then empathize and understand and connect with their feelings, which at the end of it builds that sense of connection. And because it's not linear, because it's circular, it's just like a flywheel. And what does a flywheel do in an engine? Not a trick question. I'm literally asking somebody to pipe up here. Keeps the engine running. The weight of that flywheel keeps things moving. And guess what? When you trust somebody in a relationship and they screw up, what are you willing to do? Forgive, understand, reconnect. Because guess what? As realtors, we screw up all the time. We don't know everything. We don't do everything right. Sometimes our clients know more than us in a particular situation. That's okay. When they trust that you're doing everything you know, the best that you can, and you make a mistake, they're willing to reinvest in that. Now, the way that you can represent yourself authentically is to say, I need because I experienced, therefore I do. In other words, I demand accountability. I do. If I work with somebody, I demand that you take responsibility for what you screw up, because I will do the same thing. Why? Because I was taught that it's a cornerstone of respect. My old man and my mom separated when I was like 8 years old, right? Very formative time in my life. And by the way, I was also kind of the black sheep of the family, because all of my siblings were just like my old man. And here I was like the woman that left him out in the cold with 3 kids under 10, right? So when I say it's the cornerstone of respect, I say that because my old man would always say this one thing: son, you don't have to like me right now, but you better damn well respect me because I'm your father. And that man apologized when he made mistakes to his kids. He changed his lifestyle when he found out that it wasn't good for his kids. He did everything possible to take accountability for his life and never make an excuse. Why? Because that's the cornerstone of how you show people respect. That's why I demand accountability from myself and from the people I work with. And if you're not willing to be accountable, you're not my people. And that goes for clients as well. And so I always say, and I always demonstrate that complaints are really just opportunities for improvement. In other words, I don't expect people to apologize for the way that I feel. I expect people to take the way that I feel and learn from it to say, how can I do better? That's a value of mine. And if that's not something you can get into, guess what? We're not working together, ever, for any reason. I have cut meetings off in 90 seconds with people because of this. And you should do the same. There's nothing wrong with that for you to do that with any client that you work with. Now, how do you show empathy? The same way, honestly. My client needs because they experienced, therefore I do. And here's one that's a little apropos given the times. Clients need clear buyer expectations. Why? Because there's a lot of confusion in the market about what the legal settlement means and what that means for them and whether or not they have to pay and how they have to pay. I mean, think about it. If you're working with buyers, has this been a confusing moment for your buyers? Therefore, I have a complete onboarding process before we sign the buyer-broker agreement. So in other words, I sit there and say, I'm going to go through the entire process with you, and I'm not even expecting payment for it. Why? Because confusion is what we are trying to solve for here. Why? Because right now, you're making the biggest financial decision of your life. You should not have any doubts or confusion about what you're doing. Right? Connects with your value and connects with how you show empathy with what they're going through. Right? Because clients definitely value certainty, especially if they're, say, first-time home buyers, never been through the process before. So whatever it is that you do, understand how you can empathize. And this is a simple little way to do it. The bedrock faith in your loyalty, dedication, and honesty does not come from a sheet of paper, doesn't come from numbers, doesn't come from logic, it comes from here. Why? Because what is that rule? This is where you can blurt out answers to. What is that rule, though, that we talked about at the front? You look.
Honesty, upfront, clear.
Yeah. And at the center of that is that people make decisions with their heart. They justify it with their head. So you can't logically show people that you are loyal and dedicated and honest.
You might get expensive when you use buyer, an example, working with buyer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, same thing really holds true if you're listed, if you're working with a seller.
100%.
They go through the whole thing, explain. I can just share with you, I just had an example of someone called me about wanting to put his house on the market.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a conversation with him, and I said, look, I'm gonna send you a listing agreement for you just to look over, so we can have a discussion about it, and understand what the process will be. It scared him to death when he looked at it.
Yep.
And he comes back and said, I don't know why you sent this to me, I'm not telling you I'm gonna partner with you right now. I said, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
I said, I want you to look at it, have a free read it. Anyway, he just scared to death. So when I finally got a chance to sit down with him and go through it, clarified, just like you're talking about, just makes a big difference.
That's it.
Up front and stuff.
That's absolutely it, right? The agreement is the logical step. But in reality, he just needs a guy to sit around him and say, look, it's okay to be a little scared right now because this is a process. That's a great example. And there are tangible benefits, though, to examples like that, right? Porch Group Media determined in a study, and I haven't read this, I'll be honest, I haven't read the study. I just kind of read the summary of it. So it makes sense though, that a small increase in trust can increase in the overall lifetime value of that client. And think about it. I mean, over the course of a client, from their first buying experience to their last selling experience, how many transactions could you potentially work with them? 3, 4? On average, I don't know the statistic, right? I'm just kind of throwing numbers out there. But let's just assume it's 2. And 10 years down the road, they had such a favorable experience, and you've done such a great job using your customer value journey, hint, hint, foreshadowing, storytelling, that we'll talk about here in a moment, to maintain that relationship with them, that they come back to you without talking to anybody else. No marketing dollars, no marketing expense, no marketing time on your part. Why? Because they trust you. And just a small increase in trust can absolutely do this. And I'll tell you for a fact, that works. In my own experiences, being authentic is more profitable over the long term. People buy more things from you, they buy more services, maybe they connect with your vendors to do a warranty package, whatever it might be. Like, you help other people make money in this process. So there is value to it.